Disability Discrimination Act, which was passed 25 years ago. It gives basic civil rights to disabled people for the first time. But a BBC survey out today suggests 2/3 of disabled people feel they're losing those rights during the pandemic. Our reporter Ellis Palmer, part of the production team here on 5 Live Breakfast, joins us now to talk about these findings of the survey that the BBC has carried out with YouGov. But morning, Ellis.
Good morning.
Normally you're out there working
doing?
very hard behind the scenes, so it's nice to have you here in the studio. The history of the Disability Discrimination Act, I did not know about and was really interested to read up on. So tell us more about it.
To be honest with you, neither did I until I actually read into it over the last couple of weeks. So to give you a bit of a sprinkling context and a bit of history, in the late 1980s, ITV did these biannual telethons to raise money for disability charities. But there was a lot of disabled people who thought that these telethons were patronising and demeaning. So in 1992, hundreds of them gathered outside the studios before the event, blocking the entrance. And from these protests came a whole movement, a whole narrative around changing disabled people's rights in society. And that led in 1995 to the passage of the Disability Discrimination Act, which made it illegal for employers and service providers, such as shops and restaurants, to discriminate against somebody because they're disabled. Now, critics point out that the law had a number of shortfalls. First of all, it was only rolled out in stages. Second of all, employers had to make reasonable adjustments. But that definition of reasonable
massively open to interpretation.
It's very, very much open to interpretation. I mean, that comes from, I've got my local bakery down the road, but I try and cycle past every day. I'd love to go in there. They've got some great food and everything like that, but I can't go in there. There's a step up and they've got a ramp. Very reasonable adjustment is that they would come out and serve me outside. And what happens if I've not been in a bakery before? The non-disabled people listening out there this morning, you might think, oh, why is 5 Live talking about disability? But actually, if you just take off your goggles and walk around your local area, look at your drop-down curb, look at your curb situation, look at your shops, and just go, it's not very accessible, the area I live in or whatever, and just think about how somebody who isn't you would see the society you're living in.
Yeah, but it's that basic thing as well, isn't it? If you're a business, if you're just going to look at it in a very cold-hearted way, you're missing out on potential business by not taking this into account. If you're an employer, you're missing out on talent that you may otherwise benefit from. So, this goes well beyond the disabled community itself, doesn't it? Now, 25 years on, what does this BBC survey tell us then about how people are getting on today?
Well, the survey suggests that 78% of disabled people feel they are treated worse than those who are not disabled. The survey basically says that disabled people feel they don't experience a level playing field. So you made that point about employment there, Rachel. Only about half of disabled people are in employment compared to around 80% of non-disabled people. And from my own reporting for BBC over the past 3 years, in London, for example, I'm only able to use around 20% of tube stations independently, and then 93% of rental properties, this is from the 2018 survey, aren't accessible for me don't even meet minimum accessibility requirements. And I call it the tea challenge. Can I get in? Can I make a cup of tea? And, all too often not able to do that. And all I need is a wet room shower and the ability to make a tea or coffee in the morning.
93% is a huge number.
Only 7% of properties in the UK have that.
And just tell us how COVID has impacted on this.
Yeah, 65, obviously, first things first, the disability community is a very diverse bunch of people, so one person's experience doesn't necessarily match up with another's. But 65% of disabled people feel that COVID has had a negative impact on their rights. And the most shocking thing was that 60% have had difficulty getting hold of at least one of the essentials, like PPE, medication or equipment to help them breathe. So, yeah, it's quite shocking to see the impact it's had on disabled people's lives, Rachel.
Yes, thank you so much. If this chimes with you, if you have had experience like this, do you think it's made a difference to your life, the Disability Discrimination Act? Do let us know, 85058 at BBC 5 Live. Thanks very much, Ellis. Talk again soon. You're listening to 5 Live Breakfast.
On digital, BBC Sounds, smart speaker and online.
This is BBC